You're watching the Maryland Players Show on Fan Media. So, my guest today, Hall of Fame high school career, senior year, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks. Went en route to a 29-0 season and finishing off with the Virginia AAA state title. Also a well-known NBA player, and Grant Hill also attended that high school. And he told me himself that when he went to South Lakes, he was known as the male Christy Winters. Senior year in college, 18 points per game, first team all ACC. Number 9 all-time leading scorer in Terps history with 1,679 points. Number 12 all-time rebounding in Terps history, 723 boards. Number 11 block shots in Terps history with 91. Two-time ACC champion, Final Four appearance in 1989. Named to the 50th ACC 50th anniversary team, and inducted into the Hall of Fame, University of Maryland Hall of Fame in 2006. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. We got a baller in the house, Christy Winters. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my God, Wiz. I sometimes have to pinch myself. I'm like, wait, is he talking about me? Because it was so long ago, but oh my God, I'm honored to reconnect with you, my friend, and always good to see you.
I gotta tell you, man, we went to Maryland at the same time, so I used to see that work in person, but my goodness, I did not know that you put in that much work. I gotta tell you, when I was doing my research on you, I was like, whoa, okay, Christy, let's get it. So let me ask you this: when you started playing the game, how did that start for you? Were you out there playing pickup games with the little boys or whatever? How did you get started in the game?
That's exactly what it was. And, you know, I have an older brother. He's only 13 months older than me. So we're basically like twins, okay? So whatever he did, I did. Whatever he wanted to be for Halloween, I wanted to be that for Halloween too. I was like just right behind him. To his chagrin, like he was like, oh my God, Mom, get her from the shadow, you know. But I was always right with him, and, you know, he would always go and play. We had a hoop in the backyard, so his friends would come over to play, right? So I'm like looking out the window. I'm like, oh, they're out there playing. I was like, don't. Went downstairs with my ball, and I go out there, and I'm like, I got next. So whoever loses, like, that's that about that. So I was kind of tracking behind him all the time. And, you know, if we weren't playing in our backyard, there's a court in Reston called off of Twin Branches, and everybody used to play over there. Grant used to play over there. I threw him a lob over there, and he threw it down anyway. But that's, everybody would go there and be 4 or 5 games down. And that's crazy now. You go by there and it's empty. But anyway, it used to be packed, and everybody would just go and play there in the spring and summer. Weather's good. Until there are no lights, so we'd be out there in the dark playing. It was the best of times, but yeah, that was absolutely it. And I was always the only girl, you know. And I think that's where I had this turnaround jumper. And you say you saw me play, so I don't know if you saw it once.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like the shimmy and the right. Okay, so that was like my go-to move. Everybody knew I was gonna do it, but somehow I got the shot off in time. I don't know, but I think it's attributed to playing against my brother and his friends, when before I learned that particular skill, they were throwing that thing into the garage door. You know what I mean? I was getting it blocked like every time. I'm like, this is not okay. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And instead of limping away and saying like, this isn't for me, I was like, I gotta find a way to score on these guys. And once the shots started falling, they were getting mad with each other and like, somebody needs to check her. Like, what's going on? And I was like, yeah, that's what I do. I was like, if I can do that against them, I can definitely do it, you know, when I'm playing against my peers on the girls' side. And so I just really played all the time. And I was always playing against the boys. There were never any girls over there playing. I was always just hooping it up with those guys.
So what schools recruited you out of high school other than Maryland? And did you know right away you were going to Maryland, or was it it came down to other schools and you had an agonizing decision to make? How did that work for you?
It was hard. That's a good question because nobody really asked me that. It was tough for me. I think the recruiting process then was super crazy. They could call you all the time. You know this. They're calling all the time, letters all the time. There were no limits on the contact that coaches could have. So I got, and this is not arrogant. I'm just stating the facts to you. So
you're a baller, so go ahead and let us know. We gotta know. We gotta get some insight here. Let us know.
I want to come out crazy. So, but then I had there were 150 some letters. You know, my mom, who has her PhD in education. She's a teacher. She alphabetized all the letters. I had this file. You know, she had all the letters in there, and it was overwhelming, to tell you the truth. And again, not being pompous, not like, oh my God, I'm not saying it like that, but I didn't know how to go through the recruiting process. And when the coaches started calling, especially later, junior, senior year and all that, you know, they were like, well, we want to come in for a home visit. And I'm like, yeah, sure, come on over. So I had the whole month of October, I had a home visit every day. It was crazy. Yeah. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I didn't narrow it down to, 5 schools can come for a home visit. You know, I narrowed it down because the rule was you can only do 5 official visits. So I did that. But the home visit thing, it was every night. Mom had the food out ready for them. You know, we're in the living room, everybody's sitting and waiting, and here come all the coaches. So, I mean, my schools that I was really entertaining. I mean, it was, the whole month was filled with visits, but it really came down to Virginia, Maryland, NC State and KYAL, Georgia. Who was another? I think those were the top
notch. Man.
Yeah, but I mean, I had Andy Landers. I mean, they had gone to Final Fours, Elite Eights. Debbie Ryan. You know, I'm from Virginia. I mean, I'm right there. I'm 30 minutes away from College Park, but I'm Northern Virginia. So when I got letters from Virginia, I'm like, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? You get that, just like you did from Maryland, right? You get that.
I'll tell you this, I wasn't as highly recruited as you, but
I don't know why. I think that was wrong on those guys,
So check this out, though. Check this out, Christy. So you remember the setup? We used to practice, and then you ladies would practice after us. So oftentimes I would try to get my extra shots in before you guys start, trickling in, and you all started practice. So when you all came in, then I would go in the locker room, take my shower, and get ready to go to the dorm. So when I'm leaving out of the locker room, I could see you all's practice. And sometimes I used to go up in the stands and watch y'all. And every single time I did that, I would always walk away going, oh my goodness, I'm glad I did not play for the women's team. Y'all would be running so much. It was unreal. So what was it like playing for Coach Weller?
Oh my gosh, just what you said. I mean, it was unreal, but in a good way. I think, when you're a competitor, you wanna get to the level where you're at your best. And you know that if you're in great condition, you can run teams out of the gym. And I think we were in great shape, obviously. We would run the line drill, they call it suicides, but it's whatever people call it now. We would run, 8 of those or something like that. And 8 of them, back to back to back.
Running the stairs, I mean.
No. And then she's like, okay, if everybody gets these in the time, then that's it. So we'd be crushing it. So we'd be done, right? And then everybody would get it. We'd come in, everybody's like, woo, we got it. Good job, everybody, like that. And she's like, okay, let's run a full stair at cold. And I'm like, my legs were you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we did it. And looking back, it was tough. But looking back, yeah, we were in great shape. I mean, my junior year, we went to the Final Four. We only had 8 players, and they didn't have practice squads. So we had the 2 assistant coaches come in and scrimmage with us. So it was quite something. And there were no lines, but in the drills, You can't go to the longest line, like to recover it. And you know what I mean? Nope. There were no lines. Like you come back and you're next again. Like
Right.
that's how fast it was. And
Well, you talk about that '89 team, Christy, right? And,
yeah.
I remember that's the team that I went to a lot of your games, and so I would see you, and you know you had the inside outside game. You could work around the basket, had that mid range jumper. Dina Tate handles crazy, can shoot that thing past that ball, and of course Vicky was a beast out there. You know, just bully game, and I remember Sabrina. You know, lockdown defender. I mean, y'all were a tough, talented team. It was the show. I really enjoyed watching you all play. So I watched you all a lot. So what do you think, you know, what was your pro career like, you know, playing after college and having to go in a foreign country and continue your basketball career? I know in that last year in Switzerland, you dropped like 37 a game with 12 boards out there, you know. Let's get it. But what was it like hooping overseas for you and having to leave your family and do something like that?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, you know, I was 22 and you know this, going from college to pro, that's already a big adjustment. But to go college to pro and then be in a different culture. My coach didn't speak English. He spoke only Italian. That was daunting because all I would hear was him speaking in Italian in the locker room. He's like, da da da, Christy. And I'm like, oh my God, like, no idea what he needed me to do. And I didn't have a translator or anything. I'm 22, just plopped over there. No creature comforts, no phone to ask Siri, what in the world is he saying? You know, I was just there. So I think that was a certain challenge for me, just being over there and that kind of situation. But at the same time, I mean, basketball is basketball. And it was a blast for me just to be able to play. And I didn't want to, at 22, put the game down. Like, who does? Like, unless you really, like, you just wanted to go to college, get your degree, and that's fine, because some people are there for that. But I love to play. I'm telling you, I'm out in the park with the guys. Like, I want to play. Like, I want to play. So when I'm over there, it was a challenge because of the language. It was the whole Love and Basketball movie. That was me. Like the soundtracks and everything in that movie, I was like, oh my God, if that's not my whole life right there. But it was a challenge. But I think my first game when I was in Switzerland that next year, the coach met me at the cafe, which was right by the arena before the game. He was like, yeah, meet me at the cafe and whatever. And he said, you need to score 40 points today. I'm like, 40 of them? I'm like, so I'm shooting that thing every time. Yeah. Like, I was lifted and I had 42 and no free throws, right? So I'm firing that thing. 42, that's your number, right? So I was like, absolutely. Yeah. But I was firing that thing and you know, I just didn't want to get sent home. You know, I'm like, if they're relying on me to produce all this offense, then I'm going to do my best to do that. But I think that's for all. You could ask players who play over there now. I think that's still the case. You know, you have a lot of responsibility when you play overseas as the foreign player from the States. And, you know, they thought I knew everybody. They were like, when you go back, say hi to Magic. And I'm like, I know him like that. I bumped into him like at the game, like, oh, hey, it's Magic Johnson. But I'm not going to say hi. They thought we all knew each other. And like, you know, it was interesting. But going to the store, that was tough, like all of it. My dad was like, always have your passport with you so they don't arrest you because you don't know the language. And I'm walking around like, oh my God, you know me. I'm like,
all these things you got to worry about. That sometimes don't have anything to do with basketball. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the game, when I watch the game now, it's different from when I played. For example, we could be a lot more physical on the perimeter. And because the game is not played that way now, you see the quicker guys and athletic guys just rising to the surface. In my day, we could check more, we could be more physical to nullify those things. So when we're talking about women's basketball, has that changed as well, or is it pretty much the same, or has things changed from the way it is now as opposed to back when you played?
Oh my gosh, I would tell you what, it's changed. I think every level has changed, and men's and women's basketball. I think that it's become a 5-out loss of the traditional 5 game across the board. I think everybody wants to shoot a 3. I don't know if you saw that play at the end of the Wizards game. I think they were playing Denver. And everybody
layup, that wide open layup.
I was losing my entire mind. Get to the basket. Oh my God. And the analytics, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to be said for analytics, and I get it. But my God, you got to also play percentages. And it's a 2-point game. Go for the tie and get to the basket and finish. I don't know. But I just think that it's a wide open game. And I think, with a lot of the international players coming in, I think that's kind of changed the way the game is played as well. I think, a player like Dirk Nowitzki and all those guys, I think, Emma Miesemann, they just play the game wide open. And I think it's interesting. It's intriguing. And I wish I could have played out there because I didn't want to get bumped around, knocked, chucked, cuts and stuff like that. I wanted freedom of movement. Now it's just don't touch anybody. Back in the day, my freshman year, I remember we played Howard or somebody, and the post player, Darlene, she's in the Hall of Fame over there. She was leading the country in rebounding, but she was like a wall. And I was like you, Wiz. I was this big around. And she chucked a cut I was trying to make, and my feet got off the ground like that. And the whole crowd over there at Howard, they were like, oh, they thought I was done for the day. It was my bones just but boy, you do that today and it's a flagrant foul. You know what I mean? But it's definitely different. It's definitely, and I don't want to say it's softer, but it's softer. I'd like, once I got stronger and somebody took a cut, I love chucking a cutter. I love chucking a cutter. I was like, oh, come on through. So come on, get some, come get a, and I was very thin and whatever, but I was competitive. Yeah. So I didn't mind knocking into people. But now it's just boy, you knock into people and now all of a sudden you're marked as some bully player. And I'm I don't like it.
What is it like?
I don't like
that. What's it like coaching in this environment? You've coached at the University of Maryland, George Mason, Georgetown, and you're now coaching at your alma mater, South Lakes. So number one, what is it like coaching these kids in the environment? Like you say, in our day, the game was played inside out, and now, everybody's on the perimeter. What is it like coaching in that situation? Do you coach according to the way the game is played now, or what? And also, what is the differences in coaching at the college level as opposed to, coaching the high school level?
Yeah. No, great questions. I think, for me, I don't want to say I'm stubborn, but I'm pretty, rigid because again, analytics are what they are, but I want to get the ball inside. I don't care. And I think what's changed over the course of time coaching in high school is the skill level for passes inside. We're just trying to chuck that thing in there. We're not ball fake, bounce pass. I'm oh my God, or give them time to sit down and post up. We're taking a cut off a screen and then you're throwing it in the defense. I'm wow. And I think, AAU too, it's not, the skills aren't being refined enough to play the game in a high percentage way sometimes at the high school level. And that to me, it drives me crazy, it drives me completely crazy. It's really hard because that's what I want to do. But I think the difference between high school and college is that you have players who are 100% dedicated every single day to work hard. And when I say that, I don't mean every single day in practice. I mean every single day, like you said, before practice, getting extra shots up, after practice, getting shots up. That work ethic is different at the collegiate level for most kids. There are some high school kids who do get that extra work in, but I think it's such especially this year in particular, it's the gyms were closed. You couldn't do anything. They were taking rims off of the outdoor courts. And I get it. I had to buy a basket out front for our kids because I'm every time we went somewhere, somebody would pull up and we're leaving. We're never home. We're always at a game or a practice. So we didn't have a hoop here because we're never here. So, I think you have to get that work ethic piece in and have that at all times. You can't just wait till college to have it, or you can't wait till you're in the pros to now, now it's a business, so let me go get a couple extra shots in. No, you should already have that motor. And, I try to tell the kids that, that it's not just intramurals where you just show up for the game or show up for practice and what time is it? I'm hungry and it's time to go. where are the dogs? Like I want dogs in the gym. Yes. I want the ones who love to play and compete. Bring me those kids. And bring those and let's go in a corner and work on some things, because it's really tough, and not everybody wants to go and play at the next level. Like the high school kids, not all of them want to go and play in college, and I understand that. But the life lessons that, you know, giving your best and giving the extra effort, I think will carry over. And that just supersedes what basketball is all about. I think it's about your character. So yeah, you're not going for a college scholarship, but you're going for a life scholarship where you're going to be your best at whatever you choose to do. So don't half step. Like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're going to half step job, you know.
So stay in that lane real quick. So you're a woman who has many talents, and one of them is you are an outstanding analyst. You know, it's across the board: NBA, WNBA, men and women college basketball. As a matter of fact, Essence Magazine recognized you as one of the top 12 African-American female reporters in the country. So that's how much work you're doing out in that part of the game. So how are you, what's your take on the current women's team? Quick shout out to Coach Brenda Fries. I mean, outstanding, winning coach in Maryland history, over 500 wins. I mean, just past Coach Weller. So shout out to her. So what do you think about the current team? Are they a national championship caliber team?
I think so, you know, and you know, they just played yesterday. They played Michigan recently, and they're just dominating in the way that they play the game. And yes, they have 6 players who average in double figures, so they can put the ball in the basket from all over the place. It's not just inside game. It's not just outside game. It's everywhere. And they're phenomenally balanced. They're selfless. And I think over this stretch, I think they've won 9 games in a row now. And over this stretch, over 22 assists, you know, for the team on average, and leading the country in scoring. I mean, this is a team, Wiz, that had, you know, 4 seniors graduate from last year, and then they have 4 players transfer. So really, they only have Ashley Owusu as the returner, who, you know, had the most experience, and every other piece as either a transfer or a player that didn't play a lot of minutes last year. So for Brenda Fries to be able to just conduct the program the way she wants to. And when I say that, I mean, the standard is set, expectations are etched in stone. This is what we do here, regardless of what your name says on the back of your shoulder. The name in the front is what it is, right? And Maryland represents A, B, and C, these things. And it's the way she gets them to operate at their best. I mean, she is just a phenomenal coach. And everyone was saying, well, they lost so many kids last year, and, you know, they were starters for them. They were rising juniors, a couple of them in the starting lineup, and no one gave them credit. And then for them to be just pounding the door down, 8th in the country right now, I mean, it speaks volumes. So when you're looking at the common denominator of the success, all the players are rotating around like this, but the common denominator is Brenda Fries and her staff, which is all female, by the way. And, you know, shout out to, it's Women's History Month. So shout out to all the ladies on the staff.
Yes.
Amazing.
So I can tell you this, my time at Maryland, I mean, you guys always had more success than us, and me being an analyst, being able to see the games and staying involved with the university, it has continued. I mean, you all always had, you know, a little bit more success on a consistent basis than us. So I know it's going to be a little bit different here, but what's your take on the men's team? And, you know, they lost a tough game against Northwestern recently, but you know, they really seem to be able to hit their stride in the last 5-6 games. So how do you see them moving forward?
You know, it was a tough one for sure. They hit that drought at the end of the game against Northwestern, and that was tough. I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes. The last 4 or 5 minutes, they didn't get a bucket from the floor.
3 minutes, but they also had an 8-minute period where they didn't score in the game as well.
I mean, when you have that, I don't care what level you're playing, you're going to struggle, especially on the road, especially in the Big Ten this year. But they've had some signature wins. So let's not forget, I think when you have people, like, as soon as the team loses, they're like, oh, God, like, that's ridiculous. And those are the people who never played. And if they did play, they never won. So you have to go through the struggle, right? To understand what winning takes. And it's not just what winning takes one time. It's how to be consistent with that. And that's the challenge. That's what hooked us in, right? We want the challenge of, okay, that was a great game. Now do it again. That was a great game. Do that again. And that's the challenge. And sometimes you're going to skid off the road. You're not going to be able to do it again because you have droughts of 8 and 3 minutes where you don't get a bucket to fall for you. And now you have to rely on other things. Now, who can get the rebound on the offensive glass? And now we can try again, right? And I think there has to be, more of that kind of thought process to what the Maryland men's team has been able to do this year. But I mean, I love Daryl Morcell. I love him. And he reminds me, like, if he played on a team with you back in the day, he would fit right in. Like, he's like an old school mentality. He's going to play. He's going to lock you down defensively, but he's also going to take a nice sharp back cut and get you. He's very slick with his thought process. His basketball IQ is through the roof, but he has that old school grit and the competitive fire. So that is the key piece for Maryland. And his senior leadership this year, I think, has been unmatched. And you can see it. He's talking to the guys and, kind of trying to bring them where he is mentally. And that's more than the physical part of it. Absolutely. It's right here. Like, you got to be all on board when it comes to competing and having the heart for that. And he's the leader that way for the team. So I'm hopeful for them in the Big Ten tournament next week. I hope that they, put together a consistent effort in terms of getting the ball in the basket, but the ball's not falling. You got to go and get some stops. You got to go and get some glass work. And stay consistent with that kind of effort, right? You can't drop your head because the shots aren't falling, like, shots aren't going in. And that's not the only thing you're out there to do. Yeah. There are 10 other things you can do to help impact the team. So I think that's what I'm kind of looking for Mark Turgeon and that crew.
So, Christy, I got to tell you, like I said earlier, I played with you in your era, and I used to see that work up close and personal with all you guys, all you ladies balling, but I did not know you was putting in work like that. It is such a pleasure to be able to talk with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, it's always a pleasure to have a friend on the show. But man, another Hall of Famer in the books. So man, great career. Thank you so much. You do so much in the area, and it's just such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, Wiz, you know what? It's a complete honor. I love catching up with you whenever we see each other. We always catch up, talk about the kids and everything like that. But you are the linchpin to Maryland basketball history and tradition. What would Maryland have been without you making the decision to go when you did? And I mean, I'll always tip my hat. I see that hat back up there with the wizard hat. That picture. I tip my hat to you, my guy, and we'll always be family in that way. And whatever you need, I'm always right here. You got me.
All right, now. Thank you so much.
All love, Wiz.
To host a player show or appear as a player on a player show, simply create a profile on Fan Media's iOS app or website. Select your teams and make a short intro video on your phone. Show hosts, reporters, former players, and superfans can use our Get Verified feature and make an intro video as well, and our mobile newsroom staff will reach out.